USC women basketball.
Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network. All right, folks, USC completely remade roster. No JuJu Watkins on the road in Charlotte against a top 10 opponent, down 11 in the fourth quarter, 61-50. What were you thinking then? And look what happens. And on our North Carolina State preview show, USC women's basketball analyst CC Clay said something very clear and very simple. Let the story play out. Don't judge a book by the opening chapter. Sunday's game was exactly that. First 2-3 quarters, it was a slug. And then at the end, who was left standing? Who was victorious? The Trojans very definitely fight on and beat North Carolina State 69-68. So much to talk about, CC, but just your point about, hey, can we just be patient with this team? Can we accept that there are going to be rough patches, but we let the story play out? As usual, 1,000% correct, CC. You have something to say. You have a lot to say, but we'll start with something particular and specific to the situation.
Yeah. First of all, fight on. I was jumping up and down. I was late. You know, my son's been in town, and I was late getting to where we had to go because I was like, I had to watch the game, and he knew. So it's like, okay, I get it, you know. Second of all, after the game, you know, I got kind of upset because I remembered some things that were said on Twitter and some things that analysts and fans said on Twitter prior to this game. So I actually had to write down what I wanted to say so I could get it all out. And as I'm getting it all out, you guys will see an overlay of this video of some specific tweets that I'm addressing for the fan accounts and the analysts that you know that were kind of down on USC prior to this game. So here we go. So before I even get into this game recap, let's talk to the folks who were talking loud before tip-off. The so-called fans of USC women's basketball program, but so quick to throw shade in a heartbeat. The same fan accounts talking about how USC was going to lose in the first quarter because of North Carolina State's front court. And let's not forget the analysts like Talia Goodman. Yes, I'm calling you out, Talia, who didn't even have USC ranked when people told her and asked her to open her eyes and do some research. And also No Cap Space, who's always been critical of Lindsey Gottlieb coaching, but now all of a sudden is acting like they've been believers this whole time. Let's keep it real. That's not fandom, that's flip-flopping. Real fans stand on their takes. Real analysts actually watch film. Because from unranked in 2023, and yeah, they cracked 25 that year, to coming in at number 21, JuJu's first year, all the way down to number 5, and then finishing the season at number 5, to starting this year at number 18, and they'll build even higher as the AP rankings have come out today. That's not luck. That's coaching and that's culture. And honestly, how can you call yourselves real fans if you don't even have faith in this team? If you're quick to doubt before the ball's even tipped, maybe you're not part of the family that you think you are. So while some folks are busy flip-flopping, and while some of these so-called JuJu fan accounts don't even have the confidence or support they should for this team, Lindsey Gottlieb and her squad are out here putting in work. So that's all I have to say about that.
And I'll offer a very brief opening statement. You know, this team, this program, this coaching staff, like, it just fills me with joy. Like look at these women just giving their best and finding solutions when it's tough. Like that's the thing that really strikes me. You know, whole new roster. You have you know, freshmen on the court, underclassmen on the court being asked to carry the load and really shoulder a lot of the responsibilities on this team. all these new pieces, and they come back from 11 down. And like what one thing that came to mind was the Maryland comeback last January, down 7 in the fourth quarter. But like you had heavyweight veteran players, Kiki, TVO, Rhea, carrying the freight for that. Obviously, Kaylee Heckle was also an instrumental part of that. But you had a lot of veteran players who had been through a lot of battles. This team, it's all very new, and this is on the road, and they still find a way. It speaks to what you're saying about coaching and culture, and so much to unpack in that regard. But like just this program and these players and these coaches, like, oh, like I just like, how can you not love rooting for all these people? And it's such
Yes.
a 180-degree difference from USC football, where you're
Yeah.
wondering, when is this team going to get tough? When is this team going to win a big game on the road? And like, so like this is the USC revenue sport program, which is delivering the goods consistently time after time. And it just like, just for the USC community, forget about the national sports community, just within the walls of USC, like this is the program that's delivering. And that needs to be said. It needs to be emphasized so that like this becomes a juggernaut, not just in terms of the program, but in terms of the fan base, and that there begins to be just that expectation of, hey, win or lose, these players and coaches are not going to let you down. Like they're achieving above and beyond. Remember, they won a Sweet 16 game against a good Kansas State team without JuJu, and they immediately carry it over here against North Carolina State. So that's my opening statement. Just the consistent quality and overachieving we see from this program. Like this is why folks watching this podcast need to get to Galen Center on a consistent basis this season and show up, because like they continue to earn your support. They continue to
Yeah.
earn trust. That's why
Yeah.
you need to get some tickets and be a regular presence in Galen. All right, Cece,
Yeah.
let's just get your overview now of this game. A lot of layers to peel away, of course, but just your overall impressions, first thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Gritty. I mean, this team showed grit. They showed togetherness. They didn't, now I'm a big one on watching body language, right? When they got down 11 points, they could have gave up right then and there. But their body language said a different story. Their body language said one possession at a time. All we need is a stop. All we have to do is play with confidence. All we have to do is play our game. And if you looked over at North Carolina State's body language, when USC started making their comeback, you can tell North Carolina State, they just started wiltering. You could just see it in their bodies that they were just lost because they couldn't believe, one, that USC had came back on them, and two, I don't think they're as together as a unit that USC is. I mean, I think the coaching staff as a whole, they do a good job in teaching this team togetherness, and in teaching this team we fight to the end, right? That's what fight on is, right? The other thing I want to mention is that when you look at the whole landscape of what's happening right now, North Carolina, I want to remind everybody that North Carolina State, this was their fourth game. They played Tennessee prior to that, which was a top 25 team. They beat Tennessee, and then they beat Maryland in an exhibition game, which was another top 25 team. So they've really played two top 25 teams already. I think Maryland was ranked number 10 when they played them, even though it was an exhibition game. And then their first game was an exhibition game that was against a lower level team. But their next two games were against top 25 opponents. So USC was their fourth team. So they have got to have, you would think, some type of continuity amongst them with knowing each other's tendencies and so on and so forth. Where USC, this is their second game. They don't even know each other's tendencies yet. They really don't. They're really trying to figure it out on the fly. So, I mean, so to me, is you see the progression once they really learn each other and once they really understand each other's tendencies and where they like the ball, where they don't like the ball, where they're going to cut, where they're not going to cut, where they're going to screen, where they aren't going to screen. This team is going to be, I think, better than most expected. And I'll leave it at that. I mean, oh, the other thing I want to add, the other thing I want to clear up, Jazzy Davidson is not 6'1". Jazzy Davidson is at least 6'2" and a half, 6'3". I know. I'm at the games. I'm courtside. I know. She is not 6'1.5". So it might say that on her bio, but she's not 6'1.5", guys. So we need to, everybody's saying she's 6'1" with a 6'1" wingspan. Yes, she's got that wingspan, but she's long. I mean, she's taller than JuJu, and JuJu is listed as 6'2". So, she's at least 6'2.5". So I just wanted to clear that up for those. I mean, USC, they don't have the height in the front court, but as far as their perimeter game they got size. They're long. So that's what's going to make them effective defensively.
Well, you know what? Let's just pick right up on that last detail about USC's length, because one of the central keys you identified in our NC State preview show a few days ago was containing Camille Pierre, North Carolina State's primary post player. And what's interesting, beyond the 4 of 16 shooting line for Pierre, which obviously played a role in USC being able to win this game, she got 10 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
And yet still scored just
Total.
10 points and shot just 25% from the field. So like that tells you something right there, that, all right, she got some boards, but defenders were there getting in her way, swarming, not making it easy for her on the putback. It tells you that USC was packing the paint, was positionally sound, and was really attuned to the scouting report, which is, she's the person who you can't let her beat you. It has
Yeah.
to be other players. And so
Yeah.
just the defense. And so, first week of the season, new team, new roster, Lindsay Gottlieb, Beth Burns, and the rest of the staff had this team prepared defensively.
Yeah, what's interesting is, and this is totally my fault, right? I said in our preview, and I even wrote it, that I thought that we would see a zone. We would see more of a zone. But Lindsay was like, bunk that, Cece. I don't care how big or small people think we are. We're gonna man up and we're gonna play these women to women, and we're gonna play the defense that we know how to play. And I think when you look at the Tennessee game, like there's another comment on Twitter about they were surprised that we defended the front court so well because Trigger scored 18 on Tennessee. Again, to remind you guys, Tennessee doesn't play defense. Trigger is she didn't play that much last year, and so this is her first year starting, and she's big. She's a big girl, but just because you're big doesn't mean that you're going to be successful, against a defending team like us. So I think that goes a lot to say about, the game plan. But my bad. I was totally wrong. I missed that totally. I just thought that we would see some zone to pack in the paint and not only just a pack in the paint, but because of their guards, how they like to dribble, drive, and kick out. So I thought, well, damn, we don't have the help on the backside like we did last year. So maybe we play zone. But no, we played them straight up, and we didn't do that bad defensively. I thought Malia Samuels did a great defensive job. London Jones, as small as she is, did a great defensive job. And it just goes to show you our guards are mighty, man. They're mighty. They're small, but they're mighty.
In terms of being able to contain North Carolina State's front court, one thing that stands out to me as well, in addition to everything you've already mentioned, CC, Lindsay rode with Gerda. Like Gerda
Yeah.
was trusted in this road environment, and that might come as a surprise to some, but Viv just got 7 minutes, Laura Williams 5, Yakaya 5. So Gerda was the player this coaching staff trusted. And basketball 101, like this is another basketball teaching moment. I know you can say a lot more about this, CC, but the casual fan's going to say, 5 points, 2 rebounds in 23 minutes. But what do we always say? It goes so far beyond the box score that just by playing strong defense, and like you don't even have to block shots, but like just being a bothersome presence on the floor, numbers aren't necessarily going to tell you that. But the fact that she plays 23 minutes and Pierre goes 4 of 16 and North Carolina State's front court really never felt comfortable, that says a lot about Gerda's defensive chops and how well this coaching staff had her prepared. And it really mattered on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think that's what the decision was about. Like who's gonna manage the paint the best, the most effectively. What can we do? And Gerda, Gerda has experience. I think Gerda, out of all our posts, has the most experience. Even though it's international experience, she has the most experience because she played with the senior national team, and she played with the other national team. So she has the most experience in defending or just in basketball in general. So I think they rode with her because of that, and it worked. I mean, Gerda played really well yesterday. I mean, she was a +9. When I look at my notes, she was a +9. Um, she was the second highest in plus minus, and she shot the best from the field. She was 66.7%. So even though it was 5 points, those 5 points mattered. But I think again, as you said, to reiterate what you said, it's not about points. It's about impact. How impactful are you going to be as a teammate for our team on the court? And obviously, the coaching staff felt that she would be the most impactful for this game. Who knows what's going to happen next game, but for this game, she was going to be the most impactful. And she showed why she was out there. She played, she was a dog.
Yeah, a timeless sports truth, everyone. There are many ways to win. And sometimes the best way to win is to make the game easy for yourself, but there's also the way to win in which you make it hard for the opponent. And that was Gerda. That was her role as that chess piece for USC. Like that was how she really made the difference. Not by making things easier for USC, but making things hard for that North Carolina State front court. All right, lots of other details of this game to unpack. You mentioned Malia Samuels. Let's go a little deeper there. She played 36 minutes, and I was expecting Kennedy Smith to kind of be that 36, 37-minute player, which JuJu was, throughout last season. Kennedy Smith gets 30 minutes. So really kind of a flip-flop. I would have expected the opposite numbers for those players. And so, Malia's defense, especially late in the game, absolutely spectacular. I mean, we know she plays great defense, but the fact that she was able to be great at the end, logging those 36 minutes, taking on that big
Yeah.
workload, like that just has to be something the coaching staff is absolutely raving about right now.
Yeah, I think the announcers were talking about, they talked with Lindsey Gottlieb on why they decided to go with Malia Samuels starting. And the one thing that Lindsey said was that she's a great game manager, at that point position. And I think Malia is another person who has put in the work. I mean, this is her junior year, and I think she had a really good off season, knowing that she wanted to come in and be impactful this year. And I think the coaching staff gave her expectations of what they wanted to see from her, and I think that she's knocking it out of the park so far. It's not all about scoring. She can score if she wants to. She can hit the three. It's
Yeah.
all about managing the game and getting people in the positions that they need to be in, but being that defensive, knockdown defensive person that we need her to be. And it really showed, like you said, 36 minutes, 35 minutes in the game, and she still had enough in her to really make that one defensive stop that we really needed at the end of the game. So besides Kennedy Smith having the other one, but Malia's defensive stop was the necessary one.
Uh, let's talk more about the USC defense because again, that's what won this game. We knew it would need to win this game. Defense travels, right? And USC's defense definitely traveled to Charlotte. Two things as well to pick up on. One, NC State with all those offensive rebounds and all those paint touches, USC allows just 11 free throws. And so the Beth Burns signature of knowing how to defend without fouling able to rise to the forefront immediately. Like, didn't need a month to figure it out. It's there right away. First week of the season against a top 10 opponent. And then the other defensive standout item to emphasize, and this was also central to USC getting this W, 18 forced turnovers and USC committing only 7. Like USC played
Yeah.
such a clean game, much cleaner than NC State. So like new team, new roster, new puzzle pieces to fit, and yet the coaching staff had this team ready to win the turnover battle decisively,
Yeah.
which really speaks to care and detail orientation and not sending a powerful front court loaded team to the free throw line. Just it's amazing to get that kind of elite performance in those two metrics, those two statistical categories right out of the gate on the road. and I might add, with Kara Dunn in foul trouble, which had to create even more complications. Just an absolutely phenomenal defensive performance, specifically in forced turnovers and not sending NC State to the line.
They had just so you know, with 18 turnovers, they scored 15 points. So they had 15 points off turnovers. North Carolina State only had 8. So I mean, they outscored them on points off turnovers as well. They had, you know, turnovers. They created more turnovers than North Carolina State did. So defensively, USC was the better defensive team than North Carolina State, and I think this was the best defensive team that North Carolina has seen to date. So it was ugly at first because I think there were a lot of nerves involved, but I think it also had a lot to do with defense. And as far as USC is concerned, again, it's about them finding their way. Um, I just can't get over the fact that this is their second game in. Um, it's playing against a top-ranked opponent, and people's expectations are expecting more from them than they should be. You know what I mean? Like, remember I said at the end of our last call, I said, quit making the expectations so high so you can be surprised and joyful, right? So we got a surprise. They came out and played a lot better. And one thing I want to say about Kennedy Smith, the last couple of games has not been playing, hitting her outside shots effectively, but she's impactful in the way that she hits shots when they mattered. She hit some key shots during that game, and defensively, she was a baller defensively, and I think that had a lot. Being that two-way player, you have to be in shape. I mean, you have to be in shape. So I think these ladies are still trying to get their legs under them, and I think Kennedy, once she settles in, again, it's just all about settling in and understanding her teammates on the floor and where she needs to be, and her game will come to her. I think she needs to take a little bit of pressure off herself. I think that she wants to be that leader, which she is a leader, but I think she's playing with that pressure of being a leader on her, and it's kind of affecting her offensively. So I think once she can remove that pressure off her shoulders, it'll be better. Because as you guys know, last year it was discussed that Kennedy is a perfectionist, and perfectionists, when they're not perfect, it really messes with their mental. I mean, it really does. If you're a perfectionist and you're not perfect at everything, it messes with your mental. So it's just trying to fight through that and understanding, hey, there is no perfect game. There is no perfect anything, and so once she gets that, she'll be fine. But Jazzy Davidson, for the first half that she had, she just, man, she's just amazing to me because she's a freshman. She came in with that first half, and it wasn't a good first half, really, and then came out in the second half and totally balled out. But her stat line, 21 points, 5 blocks, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals. I read something. She's the first one to do that. There was only one other player to do that, and it wasn't JuJu. It was somebody else older to do that. And I got to find that stat, and I'll tweet it out. But yeah, she had a remarkable game, and just like Kennedy, when she takes that pressure off her to just go out there and play, you're gonna see Jazzy do some things that you never thought Jazzy could do because she's just so fluid with the way she plays. I mean, she's so fluid. She's so ballerina-like. It just looks so pretty.
Definitely want to drill deeper on Jazzy Davidson, but we've been talking about the USC defense, so I just want to have one more question about the defense before we look at the offense, before we look at like how do we unlock Jazzy and Kennedy's offense a little bit. Just what do you think is the main thing to work on for this team at the defensive end of the floor? What do you think Lindsay, Beth, and the rest of the staff are probably talking about in terms of like, hey, really good game, checked a lot of boxes. We showed that we could, D up one-on-one, but, like what were things that maybe North Carolina State didn't test or probe as much, but which, are things that in order to keep growing and evolving, this defense needs to tend to, looking ahead to South Carolina, looking ahead to other big matchups that are just around the corner.
Well, I think a couple things, right? Again, something that I'm always harping on is the dribble drive defensive help, right? So and with South Carolina, it's coming because you have Tanaya Latson and Raven that are gonna dribble drive. Tessa Johnson mainly, she's a 3-point shooter, but Raven Johnson and Latson, they're gonna dribble drive, especially Latson. So we have to make sure that we sure that up. How are we gonna effectively create stops for their dribble drive offense? Are we going to do it with help side on the back end, or are we just going to try and close out and stop them on the perimeter? So that's something that we have to look at. The other thing, opposite side help. So there was a couple plays where it went inside and then it left the opposite wing open where the front court was able to throw out to the wing, and I think they actually hit a jumper because the one person on top didn't shift down in time, and so they left the wing wide open. I think that we have to get our help side shirt up as well. But and we didn't see any press. They didn't press at all. So that was interesting too. And I think that they just wanted to keep their legs. I think if they pressed, they would have been really, really fatigued at the end of the game, especially because they only went basically with 6 players yesterday. I mean, they played 10, but 6 got the majority of the minutes. But I do want to say one thing, not to go away from defense, but Laura Williams came in and played 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes that she came in, she got 2 offensive rebounds and putbacks. So, even though that they were getting limited time, just like Lindsay said, it's a win by committee. The minutes that they play have to be so impactful. And I think all the minutes that the front court did play, for the most part, were impactful. Every time somebody else came in, they did their job. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I mean, the Yakaya's 5 minutes, Viv's 7 minutes, and Laura Williams 5 minutes. Like that enabled Gerda to be strong and effective in her 23 minutes. So yeah, like that 17 minutes that Lindsay Gottlieb was able to get from her backups, enabling Gerda to be fresh and impactful when she was on the floor. So that's a good point. That even though the minute counts were small, that's still 17 very meaningful minutes
Yeah.
from the USC front court reserves. All right, so let's now shift this to the offense, CC, and it's notable. Jazzy and Kennedy both not shooting great in their first 2 games, and yet, of course, USC able to win anyway. But going forward, the obvious focus is how to get these 2 players unlocked, to max out their offensive capabilities. I would just say, and this was always to me a measuring stick for USC winning with JuJu. Getting to the free throw line at least 10, 12 times. Like when JuJu got to the foul line a lot, USC very rarely lost. Like that was a pretty reliable indicator of USC having success. But beyond just earning free throws, knowing how to get fouled, go to the line, what else would you identify in terms of helping Jazzy and Kennedy to be more efficient as offensive players at this early stage of the season?
Well, I think a couple things that we need to look at. First of all, the USC women's basketball team, they have a lot of players on their team that can play make. They don't really need screen set for them. They can play make on their own if necessary. They just have to have the green light to do that. Second of all, I think what you saw in the second half was a major shift from what we were doing in the first half. In the first half, it was all about perimeter shooting. Right there, you didn't see a lot of driving to the bucket. In the second half, you saw Lindsay change it up and have Jazzy take it off the bounce, right? Which made a huge difference, which got her confidence going because, she took it off the bounce and was able to get 2 quick buckets. So I think that you might see a shift there where they're going to tell Jazzy, hey, create, and they set screens for her. Like they came in and set backside screens for her. Some she took, some she didn't. But I think you're going to see more of them shifting to, hey, we're dribble drive. We can dribble drive too. So let's take the ball off the bounce and we'll set picks on the backside and do slip screens if if that's going to work for the team. But I think they could shoot the ball. They just weren't hitting them their first 2 shots. I mean, Jazzy you saw started hitting her 3 in the second half. I just think they need to get comfortable with each other and they need to feel like it's okay if I shoot the ball. That way, if they're thinking it's okay if I shoot the ball, they'll go into it more relaxed. Whereas you saw London Jones come in and she's not afraid to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
She's going to shoot the ball. You know what I mean? So I think the other players have to feel comfortable with shooting the ball and not wondering, should I shoot it or should I not shoot it? Should I pass it? Should I not pass it? If you're open, shoot the ball. If you miss, you miss. Get down on defense, play defense, come back on offense, and get ready to go. Whether you shoot the ball on the perimeter or whether you dribble drive kick or whether somebody sets a pick for you. The other thing I found interesting is, they were running different offenses. They ran a portions of the Princeton offense. Whoever thought? I never thought that I would see that. You know what I mean? So that was interesting. And then they had the guards playing all positions. I saw, Kennedy was posting, Jazzy was posting, Kara Dunn was posting. So it's a very fluid offense to where they're playing positionless for the most part. The other thing I want to say is remember, we had a conversation, you and I, Matt, where we talked about Lindsay, and one of the things that she did this summer is she went to go watch the Phoenix Mercury play. And you remember the Phoenix Mercury, they're a team that basically don't have a post. Dewana Bonner's tall, she's 6'4", but she's skinny. If she goes into the post, she's going to get knocked over. So she's not a post player. She's a perimeter wing. She's long like Jazzy, right? That plays wing. She can play the four if she has to, but that's not her main thing. And so I think being able to go watch Phoenix play and see how they maneuver defensively and offensively against bigger teams really gave Lindsay some different concepts of what to do and what to use with this team. And I think that you're going to see that come to fruition because it's a team that has very good creative guard play and a young front court. So how do you manage that? How do you mesh them together to make that effective? And I think if you go back and watch some Phoenix Mercury games, they're a good example of how SC is going to play this year.
All right. One thing you talk about a lot is from USC's defensive standpoint is being able to stop the dribble drive. Now, that leads me to a point, not about USC's defense, but just in terms of the USC offense, actually. And this is just a point of education for basketball fans. What's the difference between like a dribble drive oriented offense and a drive and kick offense? And the more specific nuance there is, if you want your guards getting downhill, getting to the basket, does drive and kick simply means that, well, we want you to drive, but if the defense stops you, you kick? Or is drive and kick a little bit more distinct? And does it have like some specific structural components that are different from just perhaps a dribble drive oriented offense where you want your ball handlers to get to the basket?
No, I don't know all that, Matt, but I think they're
Okay.
one and the same. I think
Okay.
they're one and the same. Honestly, I think, when I say dribble drive, you want your guards to dribble drive to the bucket, and if they have an opening, they're going to take it. If they're not, they're going to kick it out to the open person. So I think, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, there could be some differences. You might have a play where you want to draw the front court to you or the post to you so you can kick it. But the whole
Mm-hmm.
concept of dribble drive is to draw the defense to the person driving the ball, and they're either going to kick it or there's going to be a screen set for them so they can have an opening for a layup or whatever the case may be. But dribble drive is just uh, dribble drive, in
So
my
yeah.
opinion. Somebody can educate me, but I mean, as far as I know, dribble drive is you're going to dribble drive to the hole and you're going to either take it or you're going to kick it to the open person, or you could, toss it up to the post.
Yeah, so it's just good to get clarity on whether concepts are separate or whether they're just kind of two sides of the same coin,
Intertwined,
and,
yeah.
and got an answer there. So that leads me to the follow-up. Any epiphanies, any discoveries in terms of like which person is better suited to be the ball handler in drive and kick type situations? Like some people might say, Jazzy should be the primary ball handler in terms of getting to the basket, and London Jones should be the catch and shoot player, or maybe it's interchangeable. Maybe it should be interchangeable, and we shouldn't really draw fine distinctions. Any thoughts on that particular set of thoughts and considerations?
I just think that you have different actions for each player, so there might be an action set where if Jazzy is if they're running the offense through Jazzy, then then you might see some back picks so she can either slip the screen or get to the basket. With Malia, she's smaller, so you might see her dribble drive and kick out more so than Jazzy would. London Jones is going to do what London Jones does. Who knows what London Jones, the way she gets to the basket is still mind-boggling to me. It's like, how are you getting to the basket? But it just goes to show you that she's a different player in a USC uniform than she was at UCLA, because you would never see her do the stuff that she's doing at UCLA. I mean, she scored 19 points off the bench again yesterday, and She just has a way to get to her spots. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's just getting to your spot. Once everybody knows where everybody's spot is and where they're comfortable, man, it's going to be the team's going to just pick apart defenses, because they're so talented at the guard spot.
Yeah, like that to me, I think is the most exciting thing about this win, beyond, of course, the win itself, is that there's so much room to grow on offense. Like, just wait when Kennedy and Jazzy are hitting shots that are shooting near 50%. I mean, that just is going to send the ceiling for this team way up if that can be achieved. So winning
And Kara
without,
Dunn. Again, Kara
yes,
Dunn
done in
was
foul
not,
trouble.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, so she was like non-existent yesterday, but Kara Dunn still, she still got 6 points and 4 rebounds and 2 steals, and it's like, yeah, she was
Yeah.
in foul trouble most of the game, so she couldn't get a rhythm. So it's like, man, when they're all going on all cylinders, I just say by the time Big Ten starts, you're going to see a whole different team. They're going to be ready.
They're going to be like, you look at Sunday and, like, all right, this team's going to face some really, really tough challenges in non-conference play. But yeah, like, they're going to learn from this. They're going to be battle tested at the highest level. Like, it feels pretty safe to say this team will be prepared
Yeah.
for the Big Ten. Like, you can't look
Yeah.
at Sunday and not think that, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty hard. All right.
One other thing I just want
Yeah.
to mention. Now, it's about game planning, scouts, and all that kind of stuff. That's all on the coaches, right? To game plan and to get the scout and the strategy ready and to be able to make changes on the fly, right? So it's a two-way situation. So it's on the coaches to get the team as prepared as possible. And if they don't feel like they're getting prepared, then the team's going to go out and fail. But if the coaches do their job and get them prepared with the scout, it's up to the members of that team to go out there and execute. And if they're not executing, they got to hold themselves accountable. They can't point fingers. They got to hold themselves accountable. It's a two-way program. It's a marriage, right? It's the coaches
Hmm.
and the players, and then they come in and they be successful together. So I think you saw that with SC yesterday where, Lindsay had to make some changes on the fly. And the team, I mean, I think what impressed me the most was the team's ability to stay together and to not give up, as new as they are together.
Yes.
That was the most impressive thing to me yesterday was that they did not fold. They didn't fold, because they could have folded. And then at the 4 minute mark, they didn't. NC State didn't score another basket. They held, SC held them for 4 minutes without a bucket, and so I was impressed with that. But I just want to remind everybody that, it takes more than the coaches. I mean, the players have to go out there and play the game. And that's why it's called a team sport. You see a team together, being together. And like I said, to me, it was two different languages. USC never looked wavered. They never looked wavered. NC State started wilting their body language. So you could see things like that when things are happening on the court, and so that was impressive to me. And then the other thing that was impressive to me was the play that Lindsay drew up for Jazzy,
Well, that
the
I
winning
was going to
play. I
ask
mean,
about that. So let's walk through that play. And the casual fan's going to say, understandably, well, how can NC State let Jazzy Davidson get a run to the rim there? But obviously, the actions of that play created an opening. So yeah, walk us through that play. Definitely wanted to hit on
we
that
saw it
one.
was a slip screen, right? Where and Zam got beat because I think she thought Jazzy was going to go out, and Jazzy just cut right down to the basket, and Zam ran into her own player, or not Zam, the other guard ran into her own player, and that set her behind. The player didn't go help, so it left Jazzy wide open. It was just a beautifully executed play, and who would have thought? Like the first play went for Kennedy, and Kennedy almost made that layup, and then that play they called it for Jazzy, knowing that they were going to get the ball. What was even more spectacular about that play is Jazzy's left-handed. So they made sure Jazzy got the ball on the left-hand side so she could execute that left-handed layup that she's not going to miss. So it was just a well thought out play. But I was a little scared because it gave them, 7 seconds or how many seconds they had left on the clock or whatever it was. I don't know, 10 seconds, whatever. And I was like, oh no, now they got to shut them down. But the play itself was a beautiful executed play and a beautiful play that Lindsay called.
And we also have to mention that USC's defense in those out of bounds
Oh man.
situations, the past last 20, 30 seconds, just lights out, just swarming exactly in the right spot, right read, good anticipation, the works, everything.
Yeah, their execution, their end of game execution, they didn't want to lose that game. And you could tell they wanted it more. And you could just tell. The last two plays, the one where they had to call a second timeout and Camille Pierre was mad because she thought that she would have got the ball, she should have got the ball, but even if she got the ball, we had help side coming over. So it really didn't matter. And Kennedy can jump, and it was too hard for their little guard to throw over Laura, who was the inbounder defender. Sorry, I'm just excited talking about the game. But yeah, I mean, I was jumping up and down. I was yelling in my house. I'm sure the neighbors was like, "What's going on over there?" Thought I was fighting somebody. But I was so happy for this team. More so than anything, I was just happy for this team, because who would have thought,
Down 11, who would have thought?
you know? So I never doubt what Lindsay has up her sleeve. If you just go back and trace history, now here's the other thing. If they would have lost this game, it still would have been okay.
Yeah,
It still
right?
would have been okay because it was a close game. It's not like they were going to get blown out. So my whole thing was play to get better, play to get better, play to get better. If you win, hallelujah. If you lose, look good losing, you know, and then get better. Because North Carolina State was ranked ninth and USC was ranked 18th. So North Carolina State was supposed to win. So you can't be mad if USC lost that game. Although there would have been haters, even more haters online. See, Lindsay can't coach or whatever the case may be, even though they're the lower ranked team. You know what I mean?
I don't know what more Lindsay Gottlieb needs to prove to the skeptics. I mean, she keeps winning big games without JuJu Watkins. Again, Kansas State, Sweet 16, now this. Like, what more do you want? Like, how much does she have to prove? She keeps absolutely nailing it
And then the other
at
thing too
USC. And the
is
Trojans, I would also just add before we get to you again, already one very big resume win in terms of hosting games at Galen Center, which USC will get if it's a top four seed. I mean, so 1 week into the season, USC already has that big poker chip on the board, in terms of its resume. Just an amazing start, CC.
yeah, and you're seeing coaching at its finest because last year, everything ran through Juju, so everybody was up in arms about her not running offense because everything runs through Juju and they have no offense and everything runs through Juju and da 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 da. That was just the way the actions were set up for last year. Now you have a whole different team and they're running a different type of offense for the players that they have. And so it just goes to show you time and time again. It reminds me of the military. I mean, I was in the military. It just reminds me that when you're in the military, you have to be ready for change at any given moment. Change is not something that you can ask for. Like when the military tells you you have to do something, you have to do something. When the military tells you you got to go away for 6 months to a different country that you have no idea anything, you don't know anything about it, you have to go and you have to be mentally prepared for that change, right? You can't get caught up in the change. And 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 it's the same thing with basketball, especially in the NIL. Well, it's the same thing with life, really, in general. Change is inevitable, and it's how you adapt to the change. And your change always comes with your surroundings and what you have to work with, right? So if you're a change innovator, then those that are on your team have to be willing to make the changes along with you, and that's how you become successful, right? So, she adapts to change and she makes it work, and she's built a culture to where she can bring in players and have them adapt to change right along with her.
That's really well said. All right, CC. So I'm sure you're going to have plenty on this game at your USC Women's Basketball Media Lab. And tell us what you have going on there and any of the other things that you have in the works right now.
Well, we're getting prepared for the South Carolina game. I'm sure I have some podcasts coming up this week. Um,
We'll have a standalone preview show on that one, of course.
yeah, yeah. But that's about it for right now. I mean, it's in the middle of the season, so now it's like I'm working on the fly every week, wondering what's going on, and then talking about that. So it's all good.
And just remember, make CC Clay's USC Women's Basketball Media Lab your one-stop shop and your daily go-to read for the latest news, information, and analysis into the women's college basketball world at USC and beyond. That's the USC Women's Basketball Media Lab. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends, spread the word. It's the best new women's basketball website in the business. So, anything
Yeah,
else? Any final parting shots before we go?
yeah.
Anything at your Substack or any other things you wanted to mention?
If you're going to be a USC fan, then be a USC fan. Have faith in this team. There's no reason to have doubt on this team or post something that's doubtful or for clicks or to be funny because it's not funny. I mean, you never know who's looking at this stuff. Support the team the right way. If you're a JuJu fan and you just came on board with USC because JuJu's there, fine, but support the team. Not just the person. And the other thing I will say is to the analysts again, do your research. It's easy. Stats to look up stats is easy. Do your research and not just, you know, do some fly by night rankings or whatever or flip flop, by questioning coaching or anything like that. It's just crazy to me. It's weird to me. Do your homework. I don't talk bad about other teams out and open. I might have stuff to say one on one offline, but I don't put that stuff. It's not my place to do that. And I stay respectful. So I would ask that, especially if you're a USC fan, and especially if you consider yourself a fan club based Twitter account, there's no need to put anything negative. Otherwise, you're not a fan account and you should be gone. That's how I feel.
I would just add this very brief final note is that, we can think anything. There's nothing there. It's not wrong, evil, sinful, malicious to think anything because, life just was going to put thoughts in our head. We see something, the thought comes into our mind. But where human beings have agency and where we have control, and this is a measure of character, it's a measure of conduct, is what we actually choose to put out into the world. That's a choice. Thinking thoughts is often not a choice. It's an involuntary, instinctive thing. We're stimulated, we're moved, we're stirred in some way. It's never wrong to think a thought, but what you choose to put in public, it's a choice, it's intentional. Choose
And for
wisely,
what? And for
exercise
what?
some care. It's a
I mean, for
basic
what?
life lesson beyond sports.
Yeah, and for what? For what are you put
Yes.
what is the end goal of you saying something that shouldn't be said? I mean, what is the end goal? Is it for clicks, for you to get more popular? What is it? Are you unhappy with yourself and that's how you're projecting by saying something negative about something that you shouldn't be? I mean, I don't understand I mean, we live in a world right now where negativity breeds popularity. And I'm just from the old school. Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I'm here to uplift. I'm here to motivate. I'm here to keep it positive because if I uplift others, if I motivate others, then I'll feel good about myself. You know what I mean? If I'm talking negative about something or just saying things that I shouldn't say, um, then that's a reflection of me as a person and as a human being. Now, I will clap back on Twitter if I see something that shouldn't be said. Yeah, you guys have seen me. I will do some clapbacks. But to come out and say something negative, harmful, just because I want somebody to show me some attention or because I don't like somebody, that's just foul. I can't get with that. I never will. Be a good human being. There is still good out in the world.
Well said, Cece. I'm going to let that be the last word for our show. So, once again, we're going to do a standalone preview show of the big South Carolina game coming up this weekend. So, rest assured, Cece and I and Trojans Wired we'll be coming at you with a standalone South Carolina preview. Very excited for that game. Obviously on its own terms, but now that game gets a bigger national profile with USC beating North
Oh,
Carolina
so
State.
by the way, before we go, USC, the rankings came out and USC has moved up to number 8. So from that win. So which is a
Yep.
scary thought, but yeah, happy for them. Now let's
Yep,
go. Let's go.
they deserve it, and
Yeah.
so really looking forward to previewing South Carolina with you, Cece. That show will be coming up later this week. Everyone, stay tuned. We're coming at you with that South Carolina preview. But this has been our NC State victory review show with Cece Clay for Cece. This is Matt Zemek. Thanks for watching and listening to Trojans Wired. We'll see you for the South Carolina preview. Fight on.